Everyone, welcome to the Police Report Show. The Police Report Show was created to keep the public informed and to build and maintain a positive relationship with the community. WBISLP 106.9 FM, Winterville, Aden, Griffin, Southside, Greenville, North Carolina. Outside the listening area, tune in on WBISAwesomeRadio.org.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the First Responders Police Report. This is WBISLP, Awesome Radio. And boy, do we have a show for you today. We really do. So thank you for your attendance. We are looking forward to getting to our correspondence. I am your co-host, Vernon Garrison. And as you can see, Dr. Glenn Edward Leon Johnson is in the house. And just a little bit more housekeeping, ladies and gentlemen, if you will. If you want to listen to this show 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, download the app. Okay. You got to have it. It's a powerful app full of spiritual nourishment, full of opportunity to listen to all of our talk shows here at WBIS 106.9 on your FM dial, Awesome Radio. Lastly, if you miss a show, and I'm sure you have missed some great information, then please go to Roku TV and look us up. Okay, Roku TV and look us up. Other than that, thank you, Facebook, YouTube, listeners and watchers. If you're watching this a week after or late at night, we do appreciate you. This is lifeline information. If you want to get in on the show today, 252-756-2008. If you want to get in on the show today, 252-756-2008. We're welcome to have your point of view. Well, we have Dr. Johnson, and we have our awesome favorite correspondent, Sergeant Darnell from the Pitt County Sheriff's Office, and we have a very special guest today. We're going to let her introduce herself, and Glenn, Dr. Johnson will take over in just a moment. But we have Muhammad. What's up, Muhammad? All right. He's a little shy on the mic over there. Let me make sure he is on board. So we definitely want to welcome everyone, and I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Johnson. How are you today, sir? And did he freeze up or he just looking? Dr. Johnson, can you hear us? I don't hear nothing.
I don't hear my mic.
All right. How about it, Sergeant Lee Darnell? Can you hear us, sir?
I sure can. It's good to see everybody. Happy to be here.
Sure enough. Well,
how's everybody doing today?
Now he wakes up. Yes, sir, Dr. Johnson. I've been calling your name for about an hour. No, I'm just kidding. How you feeling today, sir? See, he done took another mental health break. He probably need those mental health breaks.
As you would, everybody's.
He got a bad connection.
Vernon's, please. Everybody's cutting it out, the audio and the video.
Okay, he's saying that we're cutting out. I'm gonna check with our engineer, Muhammad. How are you today, sir?
Yes,
go ahead and present as far as what we're going to talk about today on cybersecurity.
Well, there's going to be a lot of, you see, hackers have ways to gain access from a company from a long distance. From what I can tell, they were able to do it from spamming and you see, they were able to do that by injecting a spam into your PC and then take care of the rest. Just a vulnerability can spoil your whole network, and that's why you got to be up. So they might, you see, unlike scammers, hackers do not really show their face, and we don't know where they are. But scammers, they are easy to be tracked because they were pretty much seen in plain sight.
Well, that's so. Don't give it all to them. We're going to get into that. What those hackers are doing, what they're looking at. We're going to go after them. So there's a nice little sound bite. I know I put you on the spot right then because I had to go get the engineer. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to allow a special guest to introduce herself. and share with us what she is going to share with the world. And no doubt it's some very, very, very vital information. And we will officially start the show once her and Sergeant Darnell gives us their, intro for today. How are you today, ma'am?
I'm doing good. Hope y'all are all doing well. Thank y'all so much for having me on. My name is Brianna Culler. I'm the Suicide Prevention Coordinator with the Eastern Carolina Injury Prevention Program over at ECU Health Medical Center here in Greenville. And in my job, obviously focus a lot on suicide prevention, but one of the biggest aspects of that is encouraging firearm safety, helping distribute safe storage devices throughout the community, and trying to raise awareness around the importance of locking up your firearms and keeping your community safe.
Outstanding. And Sergeant Darnell, I think we left off on our last show. I believe it was our last show, talking about the importance of that subject matter. We're going to let you and her just kind of take over with that. The major talking points, I think we have the person who could obviously best indicate what type of problem we have, and we also have a problem solver here. So Sergeant Darnell, could you restate what type of issue we're having with firearms here in Pitt County, Eastern North Carolina, whatever geographical area you choose, and we'll proceed with what are we doing here in Pitt County in regards to that with both of you guys.
Well, one of the problems that we're having is people not protecting the firearms that they do own. They have them in their homes unsecured. If you choose to own a firearm, that's great. I own firearms. I always have. I grew up with firearms, living in the country, grew up respecting them, learning how to shoot them safely, how to care for them, respect them. But I also learned how to store them safely. And that's where a lot of people are falling down. They tuck them under the bed, or they prop them up in the corner, put them in the closet, and children can get a hold of them, and people get hurt. Thieves can get a hold of them, and a lot of the stories go on and on of bad situations and what can happen. And even worse, people are leaving them in their cars and leaving their cars unlocked. And it seems like a daily event that we're going out to residences and people are like, I don't know what happened. I left my gun under my seat in my car. My car was unlocked, but it was in my driveway. I live in a good neighborhood. And somebody took it out from under my seat last night. You can't do that. That's not a safe place to keep a gun. First of all, keep your cars locked. I don't care where you live. Keep your cars locked, and keep your guns safely secured. A criminal will take your gun, and even worse than a criminal taking it, a child may take your gun and hurt themselves or hurt someone else. Yes, my friend. You say something there, Dr. Johnson? I'm sorry.
I think we have isolated technical difficulties with Glenn, and I'll also want to say, Sergeant Darnell.
I was saying I agree with you totally, because I'm not going to mention any names. I'm not going to mention any names, but last year I had to advise one of my friends who's an Army veteran to properly secure his weapon, because although he has a permit that allows him to travel with his weapon in a multi-state jurisdiction, I said, but how about when you go through a state that doesn't qualify you to have that weapon? What do? Do you lock it in a lockbox, or do you just put it on your seat? And he said he put it on his seat. And I said, I think you really should consider putting it in a lockbox. The same thing when you're leaving weapon in the vehicle, put it in a lockbox. Just don't throw it under the seat because it's not secure. What if it happens if a teenager or a child breaks into the car and gets hold of the weapon? So he did think about it, and he changed the way he do things. So I just wanted to mention that about the safety aspect. Another safety issue is I know Brianna going to talk about storage and safety, but she did mention something about safety. The only other thing I want to point out about safety is when a person is handling a firearm, to always follow the rule. The number one rule is that you are always to assume that the gun is loaded, and also make sure that you're putting the right ammunition, because the weapon could explode on you when you go to fire it. Would you agree, Sarge?
Certainly. Absolutely. Always respect the weapon, assume it's loaded, never point it at anything you're not willing to shoot, and certainly protect it, keep it secure.
I'm going to go ahead and say I think we're being too nice about the subject. People's lives are at stake.
Absolutely.
And I don't know, I'm not a regulatory guy in a sense. I think I went to high school, and a lot of my friends had trucks and had guns in them, and they weren't locked, and it's the mentality of society as well. But I'll say just that one thing. I think the discipline needs to be added with people talking about liberty and rights to carry. I want to go to Miss Brianna, give her a few moments to bring out some of the major points. I did pronounce your name right, didn't I?
Yes, sir. It's fine.
Outstanding. What is having heard what you heard so far, and even my dig about being serious? Are you asking people to put your gun away, lock it up? If that's the case, I think we're wasting our money. I'll fire you and anybody else that's going out there sharing with people that, just be nice and considerate and put your weapon. No, put that doggone gun where it should be. If not, we're taking it. But anyways, that's me. What you got going on? Help us out with your program or your purpose.
Yes, sir. No, I definitely agree with everything y'all are saying about the discipline and also about the seriousness of the topic. I think it's important to also recognize that firearms and liberty and rights to guns and everything like that, sometimes those can be a hot button topics and hot button issues. So no, well, I'm definitely not going out there and going, hey, please lock up your guns. We also try our best to have the conversation and give it the seriousness it deserves, while also not trying to, villainize the gun owner in any way. I know I grew up in Pitt County. I grew up around guns, was taught all about firearm safety and the importance of respecting firearms. So it's really important to me personally, as well as professionally, that we recognize that, yes, you have the right to carry and we want to respect that, but we also want to make sure that we are providing people with the data and the information and resources so that they can help keep themselves and their families safe. Because, I think a lot of times folks don't recognize just how, when we talk about firearm safety and firearm injury, violence, death, anything like that, just how prevalent that is here in Pitt County as well. I mean, in the state of North Carolina, we've had firearm deaths have increased by 36% in the last 10 years. We know that nationally, firearms they're now the leading cause of death for kids and youth ages 0 to 24. For years, the leading cause of death for that age group was car crashes. But since 2020, we've seen guns surpass that. So when we're talking about, just like you were saying, Coach Garrison, when you're talking about like, yes, this is serious, it is serious. This is happening in our neck of the woods just as much as it's happening on a national level. And we need folks to really be, if you're going to own a gun and take that responsibility, you got to do the responsible thing and make sure that you're also educated on what it means to securely store your firearms and help keep your family safe.
Looking at those in the data, Sergeant Darnell, is it 1 out of 3 guns recovered on the street during arrest is stolen? Is it 3 out of 10? That's 30%. Either way, right? I can count a little bit. What's going on with the perception and when you do find guns on the street? I mean, are they mostly stolen?
A lot of the time they are stolen. Um, Sometimes the serial numbers have been removed. There are ghost guns out there as well. So I mean, it's a constant problem. And what do you think happens when the guns are taken out of these unlocked cars in the neighborhoods? Where do you think they're going? It's not for the responsible citizens for target practice as a hobby. You know where they're going. They're oftentimes going to be pawned or sold for drug money, or they're going to be used for crime. They're going to be used in that armed robbery. They may be used for that next murder, for that next drive-by shooting that's going to be happening. You don't want your gun to be used for that killing. I don't want mine. So you're talking about being serious and not being too light. Well, you're right. It is a very serious topic. You have to be serious to be responsible because it is just that serious. Lives are in jeopardy.
Somebody steals my gun and it shows up in a murder situation. Help the audience out. Is there a charge for me?
Not necessarily. I mean, if your gun is stolen, you're the victim of a crime as well.
Okay.
Can I say something? You see, it was last fall, from 2022 December. Some guy, you see, back in the gym, some guy who offered, as there's been people talk about some people offering guns to any people, but when I heard it, I hope that it didn't come here, and I'm not sure they could be offering kids or maybe who knows, anyone at this point. They probably offer children, school kids, or anyone.
So you met a gun salesman on the street,
No. Well, there was one time I did, but I didn't accept it.
but somebody approached you and asked you, "Did you want to buy a gun?"
Yes, it was on the December at the time, but I didn't accept.
Right. Well, I know you did. I could look at you and tell you didn't buy that gun. I don't even buy pets off the street. But interestingly enough, I've never met a gun salesman.
What I'm saying is, you got to be careful where you go because they are everywhere. They probably just sell out guns, and then who knows what they might do? They might try to do something crazy.
Yes, indeed.
Or you may buy that gun and you get stopped later, and when the serial numbers run, comes back as stolen, and you end up getting arrested for possession of a stolen gun.
So you will get arrested for buying one off the street.
Right. If it's stolen, absolutely.
Right. I understand. So what is your purpose and what do you do in your position, Miss Brianna? What do you get to do? Are you an educational, or you are more of awareness, or you're aware of collecting information and go snitch on people when you find out that they, you manage gun dealers? Tell us a little bit more about what you got going on, please.
Yes, sir. So in my position, I do a lot of education in the community. And with the education, I feel like also do my best to help raise awareness around the topic and around some of these data points. We also do a lot of resource distribution. So whether that's through partnerships with local pawn shops or partnerships with law enforcement agencies, or even just in showing up to different community events, we will pass out education about firearm safety. We'll also distribute gun locks, help show people how to put those cable locks on their guns, and also just encourage folks to be mindful about having these conversations with their family members, and with even like kids that they may have in the home, and recognizing that, hey, just like with those Christmas presents, you may think that the place you put your gun is super secure and your kid will never find it. But kids usually have a way of finding those Christmas presents, and it wouldn't be hard to find a gun either. So we do a lot of education in the community, do a lot of resource distribution, and also just try to raise awareness as well.
Okay, we got 37 seconds before the break. When I come back, I'm gonna ask you guys, how do I put a gun lock on the gun when I need to be ready when somebody starts shooting and carrying on. I don't need it locked up. I don't need a gun lock. The fact that you're giving out gun locks is the fact that I don't want to lock up my gun trigger in case I might need it. Well, anyways, ladies and gentlemen, perhaps they can come up with some good answers for why you should lock that gun up. And we'll be right back. This is the Police First Responders Report. This is WBIS LP 106.9.
I remember this night that one of our sons came in my bedroom to say goodnight. And I remember I just wanted to speak life to him. Like, you're amazing.
You are the best at that.
This is Real Family Life with Dave and Ann Wilson.
But it was interesting because he left the room and he came back in tears and he said, Mom, all that stuff you said, none of it's true. And I was like, what? He goes, oh yeah, Mom, you know what I did? This is who I am. You don't even know. I got totally wasted last week. And I remember I took a breath. This helped me to say a quick prayer. And I said, that may be what you did last weekend, but that's not who you are. And let's get real. We have parenting moments like that where we just want to freak out.
Yeah.
And we're scared. And I think we need to tell them that we see them. And not only do we see them, but we believe in them.
We're Dave and Ann Wilson, and that's Real Family Life.
Get more at familylife.com/real.
Hi, this is LaManda. You're listening to Awesome Radio 106.9.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Police First Responders Report. I'm your host, Vernon Garrison, Coach Vernon Garrison, along with host Dr. Glenn Johnson. And today's special guest is Ms. Brianna Cutler. And as always, we have our number one correspondent in the universe, Sergeant Lee Darnell, Muhammad Anab, on deck for our cybersecurity tip coming up soon. All right, if you want to get on this 252-756-2008 panel, why do I lock up my gun when I want to be ready? I want to be the one to take out the bank robber when he come in there and rob the bank, or somebody come and shoot up the church. What in the world are you telling me about locking it up? How do I manage that in my home? And I'm moving my gun from my car to the house. I don't know, make some sense out of actually practically how to do it instead of just reprimanding me for not locking it up. Sarge.
Certainly. Well, if you're in your car, the best thing to do is don't store it in your car. Store it in your home in a gun safe. I know in my home, I keep gun safes. I keep safes that are activated in quick manners. You know, you can buy safes that are like fingerprint activated, where if I hear a bump in the night, I can reach over and have my gun in my hand before I pull my CPAP off my face to get out of bed.
Too much information.
Right, exactly. So that way, though, nobody else can do that. If a child, right, at this point in my life, I don't have a child in my home, but even if I did, if I had friends come over to visit and they had a child with them, and the child just happened to, for whatever reason, find my bedroom, they could not gain access to my weapons. And you could do that same thing but that's just how I may or may not be managing my weapons.
Ms. Brianna, you want to address that lock up, don't lock up, and if you do lock up, can I still feel comfortable with my piece locked up?
Yes, sir. I definitely agree with Sergeant Darnell. I think, and this is the thing that I talk about, I feel like the most anytime I'm at a community event, because that's a very frequent question that I hear is, you know, I want to be able to have my gun if somebody's in my house, or I need to protect myself, protect my family. But just like Sergeant Darnell said, I always encourage people to look into those biometric safes. That's something I personally use. Just like, I mean, I don't have a CPAP machine, but I could reach over and use my fingerprints and have my hands on my weapon, while also feeling very secure that, nobody else in my home, or if I have my cousins come over or whatever it looks like, no one else can access my weapon unless I personally needed it. So that's what I always encourage people to do. They are usually a little bit pricey, but they run sales on Amazon. They run sales on Black Friday. Save up some change, and you can get something that's going to keep you safe, and you're going to be able to access your weapon pretty quickly.
I bought mine from a local vendor where I could lay eyes on it and take my weapon and weapons and put them in it and actually lay hands on it and feel good with who I was buying it from. And yeah, lots of opportunities to shop.
The thing is, I want to go ahead and sort of open the floor for anybody to chop it up for what they want. The general public, you guys can post on the website if you like. I want to say, with the society the way it is right now, I just want to mark it. Do we need to just say, when you become an adult, adulting means you get your learner's permit, you get your driver's license, or you're going to get married, you get a marriage license, and then you also automatically go ahead and get a license or concealed carry to carry a weapon. Have we become that society where that's the protocol, and should we just go ahead and just arm you right out of high school? I mean, say, yeah, you need a gun to live in Pitt County. Do we want to go ahead and say that or no?
No, that is a great thought. Wonderful, great thought. I carry a gun every day. Whether I'm working or not, I carry a gun every day. And I also train almost every day. I'm on the range frequently. I go through drills, and it takes that. It takes a lot of weapon familiarity, and for those to really truly be familiar with a weapon, I think it takes more than just, here's a gun, carry it, good luck. And not everybody needs a gun. Not everybody should have a gun. It takes someone who wants it, who needs it, wants to take that responsibility of learning about it. Safety. I've seen people, I saw somebody the other day carrying a gun, and it was just tucked down in the back of their pants. No, so unsafe. They can hurt themselves and other people around them. You still have people being irresponsible like that.
Okay, I think we have a caller. Okay. Sounds like Dr. Johnson. How are you today, sir? And you're gonna have to mute.
Good. I figured I'd mute it. I figured I'd call him because it gets
you got to mute though.
Hold on.
Okay, so what okay, that's better. What I'm saying is, if we become a society where a weapon is protocol, and now we have Ms. Brianna who does gun education, she's got an outreach going. Do what's in your personal opinion? I'm not trying to put you on a political spot or anything. How do you feel about people who is it recklessness? Is it laziness? What is it? I mean, I got one subject I want to talk about on the latter part of the show. I'll tell you what I'm going to bring up then. That's going to hit everybody kind of hard. But what is it that you think is lacking in the the industry as far as how we're training people? Because the guns are literally going to kill other people. So what do you think about that, Ms. Brianna? I mean, you feel like your job is a very important position. Is it effective enough to deter just by you telling them to lock up their guns?
I mean, I think that there definitely has to be, just like what Sergeant Darnell was saying. I think as far as who's getting a gun and who's going to be a responsible gun owner, I do think it's it has to come down to a certain degree to like a personal choice of who's going to be willing to do that education, who's going to be willing to undertake that responsibility. As far as what I think is missing, I think to a certain degree, folks are missing that education. I think, especially here in Pitt County, I feel like it's kind of second nature for people to to have guns. I mean, we're a rural community. A lot of folks around here love to hunt. And I think when you have an environment like that, people are more likely to have guns, more likely to, be raising their families around guns. And I think, if we are providing education that is going to be that disciplined responsibility, then we can have firearm owners that are going to be able to keep themselves safe and their families safe while also continuing to be responsible owners. But I don't think it's necessarily on any one group. I can't really speak to the industry or to the law enforcement side of it. But I do think that we've got folks who are just getting guns because it's just kind of something to do, and they aren't taking it serious as taking that responsibility serious or having that education in the background to know how important it is to be keeping themselves safe.
Okay, with 16 seconds, when we come back, I want to talk. I've met several people who just ready to shoot somebody. And when we come back, I want to talk about that mentality. WBIS LP 106.9 FM. We'll be right back after these sponsors.
I wasn't prepared to be a caregiver to Mom. I had no idea how hard it would be and what I would need to know. Things I never thought of, like how to improve her mood and ways for me to stay positive. Luckily, I found the Caregiving Resource Center from AARP. It had articles about the basics, but also information about the hurdles I was facing.
Caregiving Resource Center at aarp.org/caregiving. Articles, tips, and tools to help you both care for your loved one and care for yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
We are the station that provides inspiration for the family and ministry teaching for practical Christian living. Awesome Radio.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Police Report First Responders. Coach Vernon Garrison here, your host, with Miss Brianna Collier and Sergeant Lee Darnell, Pitt County Sheriff's Office. Muhammad coming up. Don't forget, we're going to do our cyber security moment. The gun manufacturers have been sued. Some lawsuits seem to have been successful. The manufacturer of opioids, synthetic painkillers, however you categorize it, have been successfully sued and settled out with the United States on distributing and the method that they have marketed and overdrugged society. And now that's not my opinion, that's a fact. They made that stuff too readily available. Okay, you could probably get drugs like you can get a hot dog at a particular restaurant. We radicalized this country for as protecting yourself and stand up for yourself. And this is America. Starting in 2018, 2019, it inclined. Violence in America became a focal point. Now we radicalize through politics, through however you want to say how we got that way. Now people are armed, and I'm meeting people. Boy, somebody mess with me, I'm ready. Pow. And I'm like, dude, do you really want to take a life? Well, if they mess with me. So it looks like you want to go fishing. You got your fishing rod ready. You're on offense. You're looking for the fish, and that's the ones who catch the most fish. I'm gonna be quiet and let the professionals speak. But to me, we're radicalized. Now we can't control the weapons. Whose fault is that? Is it the government or is law enforcement in the community that's responsible for cleaning up the mess? Panel? Crickets. Sound crickets.
I don't even know where to start to say who's responsible. I don't know that I'm the one to point and assign blame or what it really matters to assign blame at this point. I think the more important thing is, where do we go from here? The windshield is bigger than the rearview mirror for a reason. We've got to look forward to make things better. I'm worried about today and tomorrow. I want a better Pitt County. So what do we do today, Coach? Let me ask you that. What do we do today for a better today and tomorrow to make it safer, to have a better people, a safer people, so that we don't have that mentality, so that we de-escalate situations, so that so that, okay, we may have these guns, we may have all these situations, we may have all these mentalities, but we have a people who may be able to come together a little bit easier than we have in the past. As a people, we tend to jump to conclusions quicker. We tend to be edgier. We tend to communicate less. We tend to not understand each other as well as we used to. We tend to, I don't know, we seem to have lost our way as people at times. As a society that has the internet, the endless sea of information, anything and everything we could ever want to know and see. We can travel the world in a matter of a few keystrokes, but we seem to have lost our way. We have everything but nothing. Seems like we should have great wisdom, but have we lost ourselves along the way? What happens to the time when I was a kid, where if you needed something, you could just stop a stranger on the street and say, hey man, I need something. And they didn't even know you or care, or they would stop and go, what you need, buddy? And, like I had the biggest time when my mom would get a little bit older and we would be out somewhere and I'll never forget this. She would like go up to a car that had its lights on and she'd be reaching for the door handle. I'm like, Mom, stop. What are you doing? I'm going to turn their lights off. Their lights are on. I'm like, you can't do that, Mom, but their battery's going to run down. You can't go in somebody else's car, Mom. You can't do that now like you used to could. I wish we were back in those old days, but we've lost that way. What can we do to bring ourselves back to being a better people like that now? Did I lose my way in that conversation, or did any of that make sense?
It makes sense, and technically, I see that people need to understand the aspects that if they come in a situation where could be a possible situation where you have to draw their weapon, you got to think about the elements of self-defense. The way that people are in general conversation is talking about shooting people. You can't go pick a fight and then pull your gun. Those things are not going to. Those things are not going to hold water. So I think technically, people got to get those aspects at the forefront of their mind, that you're not a police, and if you're not in a gang in which they're relying on street justice, then you can't start your own street justice system.
Well, even if you are the police, I've been doing this for 30 some years. May God have mercy on me. I hope I can finish my career like this. I've never shot somebody. I've never tased anybody. I've never pepper sprayed anybody. I've been blessed. I hope I can finish that.
Did you put your hand on the Bible when you say that? Because you ain't never pepper sprayed nobody?
In most of life, you can talk your way through things. You can de-escalate. You can come together. And that's in police, that's in detention, that's in just in the street, in dealing with each other. You can work through things if you just want to.
Well, I was one of them, because when I finish talking, I got to go to that
big bully, Coach.
And when I get done talking and my conflict resolution is out, okay, you need to come, you need to, oh, what? Well, then everybody. I apologize, but I had to say, because I go a long ways with my diplomacy. I go a long ways now. I can win an election when it comes to resolving the conflict because I got a speech. Let's see if Brianna's got something to address on the state of mind of mankind. And are you putting a band-aid by trying to tell somebody to put a lock on their gun? Are you giving away free locks, or are they actually feeling some type of way about using them to protect their 2-year-old or the next door neighbors or your son when he's coming home late at night and he's crawling through the window? You just, impulsive.
Yeah, I mean, I think I completely agree with everything Sergeant Darnell said. I don't think I could have said it any better myself. It might be a Band-Aid, but at the end of the day, the hope would be that no matter what the state of mind of somebody is or what their opinion is on the subject, is that they would recognize that we're literally just, my whole job is to just try to keep people safe, just like Sergeant Darnell's job, and that's really it. I can't really speak to the mindset aspect or anything like that, but that's really all I got.
And for my gangsters and for my people, conspiracy theorists and historians, you told me in the Black community, you said, hey, the government put guns and crack cocaine on the street in the late 70s and the 80s just to get us addicted and the guns so we can kill each other. Now we got dirty cops that'll put guns on the street, but we done arrested a lot of them, so they probably don't even mess with them no more. Now we got the gangsters in the gangster judicial system out there. Okay, I would say the gangster Judah system out there, because everybody in them little cliques got somebody that's going to betray them. So what are you doing? It has not got any better, because you're stealing guns from your parents. You're stealing guns. You're walking around checking car doors, and you're stealing people's guns, and you're destroying the fabric of life along with the person that you think needs to have a hit put on them. You shot them. Now you killed their father, you killed their mother, you killed that whole family infrastructure because this person violated the gang rules. This person violated the territory rules. So where are you going to live at, sir, when you get old and you want somebody to take care of you? Okay, when you done terrorize the world as a young person, you know what? We might have to have tougher gun laws. You sitting back with mental health issues, depressed, wanting to hurt yourself and wanting to hurt somebody. How about let me encourage you to put the gun in its proper place and get some help. Call somebody right now that you know loves you regardless. You don't have to confess all your sins to them, but I'm praying, brother and sister, if you're in a mental state of mind where you're thinking about using a gun, or you've stolen a gun, or you got your parents' gun, wherever, put it down, get yourself some help. If you got a bully that's after you and you're trying to pack up, call Sergeant Darnell right now. You can get paid for crime, for snitching. Snitches get stitches, but sometimes you get a little stitches that'll heal up, and if you're in jail, you'll go home for Christmas. And that's not a pun. That's just the truth. But whatever's happening on the element, on the dark side out there, if you see your son moving crazy, your daughter moving crazy late at night, stop them, because you are enabling them to do weird stuff. And weird stuff can't go on in your house. Stop ignoring it. If you think they have a gun, or if you know they have a gun, or if they're moving like they don't have an identity and they're trying to make themselves a little gangster, you got to check your son, your daughter, your husband, your wife, your family member. We're going to have closing remarks from our two guests, but right now we want to get to cybersecurity, because not just artificial intelligence is threatening us, but I've heard that millions of people in the healthcare field just got exposed by hackers. Talk to us, man. What's going on? Is it the consumers that got the problem, or is it the software developers?
Well, from what it said, wait, can they hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
All right then. Well, from what it's telling me, the U.S. breached it. Basically, HCA Healthcare suffered a data breach of 11 million patients. The cyber attack was discovered when the personal data of patients was posted on mine on July 10th. In the statements regarding of the breach, the healthcare said the data was stolen from an external storage location exclusively used in automated formatting of email messages. This meant the stolen data sets contain personal identifying information, including patient's name, cities, states, zip codes, anything the personal information they possess. And the hack, after unauthorized access, the data theft was discovered. Healthcare disabled access to a third-party storage location. The company also contacted all those impacted by the data breach. So, and the investigation into the cyber attack have not yet identified evidence of any malicious activities of healthcare network system related to the incident.
Okay.
And hackers, the reason why they were always never be easily be tracked is because they use a secure software such as proxy server to hide their identity and funnel their communication through lots of different countries in order to evade the detection. And they also use other technologies like Tor and encryption enable them to add multiple layers of masks in order to mask their identities, so they can falsely impersonate someone else.
So they just all my grandma, my cousin, my uncle, healthcare information just got put online, so I can go up there and buy off the black market somebody's identity and apply for a credit card. This is not a consumer issue, though it's a consumer issue. The software developers, what are they doing? Is it that easy, or because they got millions of ID?
They always there's always a gap of everything in life. They should really know it. Look, always find blind spots and test it. If it's easy for them to gain access, then it might be easy for other people like hackers for themselves as well.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, protect yourself as best as possible. Gone are the days where you can completely hide your identity, because if you go down to the corner store, they're going to sell your ID. If you give them your name, they're going to sell your name. So we have to rely on cybersecurity people and software developers.
Also, if you receive random messages or spam or something fishy, ask them questions that you demand proof that they are who they claim themselves to be, because you never know. They could be just a scam artist trying to falsely falsely impersonate someone that they're not. And that's a definition, and there is a word for that, known as social engineering.
Amen. Well, thank you, sir, for that raising of awareness. I'm thinking about cybersecurity when I go to the gas pump now. So we all got to get in on this. So thank you. I appreciate it. All right, we're entering closing the remarks, 2 minutes apiece. Sergeant Darnell, minute 30 seconds, sir. What say you on the issue or anything from the sheriff's office?
Okay, I'll be brief. That's hard for me. It's emotional subject. I'll bounce a little bit in a different direction though. One thing Ms. Culler said in introducing what she does, I think she had also mentioned suicide, and it's a little bit of a different topic, but it ties in. When I think guns, I also think suicide, and I just want to say with that, I can't help but think when I think violence and guns, I've been touched by suicide. So take care of your guns, lock them up, be responsible, take care of yourselves. If you have any thoughts of harming yourself or have someone else that you think may harm themselves, please seek help. You're loved, you're cared about, reach out to somebody. If you don't have somebody or don't think they'll listen, call me. I'll listen.
There is something I should say. It's about what you just said. You see, back in college, there's a few of my classmates, a few of my friends. We're helping each other with a group project, but one of them doesn't seem like her heart is in on it, because she's very upset. And every time she's like, when she ever since this whole thing started, ever since this pandemic happened, and our classes were remote, and she couldn't take it anymore. She was tempted to take her own life away with a gun, But I told her, do not. It's not gonna. Don't do that, because with all this mental health issues, she was tempted to use it on herself. But I told her not to. Don't do it. Me and her, me and my friend, we try to help her not to use it. So that's why there are times we try to we do live chats so we can ease up on her mind. But I haven't seen her since about a year now. So I don't know. I don't know what happened to her anymore.
As they say, check on your people. We got 2 minutes for the show, but we're going to stay online for a few minutes so we can do the proper closing. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening on the radio, get to Awesome Radio Facebook page right now. Right now. Okay. And we're going to close the show out the proper way, but we'll be off the 106.9 FM dial. But bring it on in with us on the GPAT 23 YouTube and Facebook, and also Awesome Radio Facebook and YouTube. So, Miss Brianna, closing remarks on how you feel about the status. You want to announce where you're going to be at next, an event you're having, or you want to say what you want to say.
Yes, sir. So I know Sergeant Darnell hit on this right there, bringing up suicide, which is the main thing that I do. And safe storage of firearms, one of the reasons I talk about it so much is because firearms are used in over half of all suicide deaths. Firearms are the most fatal method of suicide. So when we talk about safe storage of firearms, and using those cable locks, using those gun locks, if you yourself or if you have someone in your home who is maybe feeling a little bit down lately, not acting like themselves, you have a firearm in your home, best thing you could do to keep them safe would be to lock that firearm up and make sure they don't have access to it, or make sure you don't have access to it. Because a lot of times suicidal crises, it's a very impulsive decision, but if you can put your hand on a firearm when you're in that state, then obviously the
WBIS LP 106.9 FM.
This is Awesome Radio.
Is our true source of hope. God promises to meet our needs, and He always keeps His promise.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are on social media, and Miss Brianna, you were saying about suicide.
Oh,
Can you hear me? Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir. I can hear you. Just talking about suicide and firearms, relationship that exists there. If you or someone someone in your household is in a mental health crisis, do what you can to make sure they don't have access to that firearm, because limiting that access is what's going to help keep people safe when they're in that crisis situation. Also, like Sergeant Darnell said, always reach out to someone. If you don't have anybody, you can reach out to me. You can call Mobile Crisis here in Pitt County. You can call 988 hotline, 24/7 support. There are always resources, and there's always somebody there to help you.
What's that telephone number?
So 988 is like the national suicide hotline. It's just 988 24/7 support. So if you dial that number, they'll connect you to a trained crisis counselor. And we also have Mobile Crisis here in Pitt County. So if you call 988, they will link you to Mobile Crisis. The Mobile Crisis unit will come out and speak to you as well if that's something that you need. There's always support available, and lock your firearms up, help keep yourself safe from not only suicide, but any other sort of violence or injury.
988. I got to cook this for a minute. Sergeant Darnell, about to come to you. You tell us about 988. 988. So there's 411, 911, and then there's 811. Call before you dig. But I think that's it. I can't remember. But then there's 98. And when does this number come out, Miss Brianna? When did they start using this? Or either one of y'all?
I believe 988 rolled out earlier or last year around this time. I want to say Sergeant Darnell might know the exact date, but it's relatively new.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty new.
Yeah, that is new. Sarge, what say you?
Yes, great concept. The National Suicide Hotline. a 911 just for suicide. If you can remember that, 988. And there have been some campaigns on it, and there will be more. And a matter of fact, I may do something just based on talking about it today. I may put something on our page today, just to refresh people's memory on it. So it's a great concept. If we can just reinforce that in people's minds when they're down and struggling, they can just remember that, to reach out, get somebody there to help them get through that moment. It's a tough time, and it hits everybody, hits every family, and it's such a struggle.
I was working in a house that I was having a good time. I had to renovate it for Airbnb, and the lady told me that at one point, I think about a couple of weeks in, she said, yeah, the owner of the home had blew his head off with a shotgun. He sat down in a chair and they put the gun, I guess, wherever he put it at. And he literally, and I was painting the room. Now, it had been painted since then. But while I was painting that room, boy, I was like, yo, old dude was right here. This was a portal of pain and despair. And someone took their own life there in that room and in that area of the room. It is so, and I'm glad, Ms. Color, that they have associated suicide with gun violence. And the gun violence is the method that they're using, so you couldn't help from associating that with gun violence. But we don't know how shooting automatic weapons. We don't know how to associate that, even though that's the one, that gun of choice, automatic weapons or modified weapons and things of that nature. We're coming around to it, but I think we're gonna mess around and have a moral police like some of them Arabic countries do, that go around just getting people that they don't have the proper headdress, or a man is talking to a woman, or you got adultery. I bet you we're gonna mess around and have something like that, or feel like we need it. You go, let me see your gun, let me see if it's locked up. Let me, we do speeding, and that's more of a civil kind of thing. I think we would call ours civil for violating. All right, I've given part of my closing remarks, but if you guys have anything else you wanted to share about what you're doing, I appreciate the extra time and and patience.
Just you chose a great guest, ECU Health. They are truly a huge leader in the East and the state, for that matter. They've done a lot in gun safety, firearm safety, and they've done a lot in safety, period, community safety, childhood safety. They are amazing. They have the best people in the world. I truly look up to them. When I retire, I may just go be a groupie with them and their team. They are amazing. Department of Insurance was down here recently with an event over there with them, and I think they're coming back over here with an event with them before too long, I believe, for something. But they do amazing work, and my hat's off to ECU Health and everything they do to keep communities safe down here.
Outstanding. Well, Miss Brianna.
I just want to say thank y'all so much for having me on, and thank y'all for doing the show. Thanks for everything y'all do. Sergeant Darnell, thank you for all the insight you brought to the table. I really appreciate it. Very glad to be on.
All right, guys, we're here. If you got information you want to put out, thank you, and thank you 1,000 bonus points for the rest of the day.
Thank you, Muhammad, as well. Appreciate you. Dr. Glenn just dropped out on us today. I'm gonna close the window because the help button went away. Muchas gracias, señorita and señor.
See ya.